Welcome back, everybody. Are you a big fan of Sour Patch Kids? Well, I am, but more so than Sour Patch Kids, maybe. I am also a fan of drinks that taste like Sour Patch Kids, namely the Ghost Sour Patch Kids Dual Collab. Now, if you watched my Ghost Swedish Fish video, you may recall me mentioning that it was a collab with Mondelez Brands. That's because Mondelez is the parent company behind Swedish Fish, and they're also the parent company of Sour Patch Kids. So that would mean that both collabs have been going on for quite some time. Sour Patch may be a little bit older, but I know they've both been around for a while, and I can attest to that because the Blue Raspberry here in particular was not only the first of these two that I've tried, but it was also the first Ghost I ever had, and even more so than that, it was also the first energy drink that I ever had. Way back in the archaic times of January 2024 is when I first decided to try that Blue Raspberry Sour Patch Kids, and I drank it at like 11 p.m., which was such a stupid thing because I was up until 3 or 4 in the morning laying on my floor, hyperventilating, and being maybe the most paranoid I've ever felt in my entire life, and it was horrible, and it was the only time I've ever had such an experience with a drink, but it may just be because it was my first time having such a large caffeine intake all at once, so I was very much not used to it. Anyway, as you know, I don't react like that anymore, so we're going to be trying these two because I already know what I'm going to be feeling here. You may also notice that this can here is printed and this one has the textured sleeve, also known as superiority. And like I've said in the past, I swear to God I'm not crazy, but the textured cans taste a little bit better. Maybe it's all in my head, but I don't think it is. Other people have said it too. I'm not crazy. There's something about those printed cans. I don't know if the ink is going through and getting into the drink or what's happening, but those taste better. The sleeve cans, they're always better. But now that I'm done giving my inanimate object drink a superiority complex, let's go ahead and try both of them. And because I love chronological order, we'll be starting with Blue Raspberry. Oh yeah. Now, I've already explained my little bit of personal lore behind this drink, but just know that it did not affect my opinion on the drink itself. That is very far removed from that little experience, and I can prove that right now here to you by giving it a little taste test. Oh yeah. Well, it sure does smell like a blue Sour Patch Kid. Not so much the Sour Patch Kid part, but it very much smells like Blue Raspberry. And it smells sour, so, I mean, use your context clues, I guess. But more important than the smell is obviously the taste. So, let's get a sip, bottoms up. Now, despite my Jurassic-era scream, I have to say, this is still, by far, one of my favorite Ghosts. Like I've mentioned, it is the first one I ever had, so for a while, it was my favorite. That was until I had Swedish Fish, which I revealed in the last episode. But there's something about this. It does taste like a blue Sour Patch Kid, but it's honestly really not that sour. It's more sweet than anything. It tastes sour, but it isn't sour, if that makes any sense at all. Because sour isn't just a feeling, but there is a flavor in there. And this has that flavor, but not so much the feeling. And I think it's really good at that. And being a Ghost, it's not overly carbonated, it's not undercarbonated. It's got a great little blend going on there. And I think it's great. And, you know, I'm a sucker for blue raspberry flavored things. No matter what it is, blue raspberry is almost always going to be my go-to flavor. So I'm very heavily biased towards this, obviously. But I need one more sip. Oh, yeah. But let's get a taste on the other one. Welcome back, the color red. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know what the hell a red berry is. There's many berries out there, and I would say a majority of them are red. in some capacity. So this is a very generalized sounding flavor. But, you know, obviously, as you can tell by the can, it's based on Red Sour Patch Kids, which, from everything I know, I'm almost positive they're supposed to be cherry. But we'll be the judge if this is an actual cherry-flavored drink. Now, as for my lore behind this thing, I do not remember. It was a long time between the time I discovered the blue raspberry and this one. So I don't even know how I discovered it or where I found it, or if I don't even think I have a story to go along with it. All I know is that it's a flavor that we're going to be trying here. So, it squirted all over my hand. God damn it. That being said, let's get a sniff. Well, that smells like Fabuloso. That doesn't smell sour or red or Sour Patch Kid at all. Whereas the blue raspberry smelled very much like what it's based on, this smells like, I think, cleaner. I just poured it on my nose! Anyway, yeah, this just smells like acidic detergent, so honestly doesn't smell that good. But that doesn't necessarily correlate to the taste. So, with that being said, let's get a sip. Bottoms up. Well, well, I don't know if this is an old can or what, but this tastes a lot different than I remember. I actually, when I first discovered red berry, I said, yeah, this is a 9 out of 10 flavor. Blue raspberry is a 10 out of 10. And then within the past, I think 6 months, I decided that they're both 10 out of 10, but I think red berry is actually a little bit better than blue raspberry. But for some reason, this is not as good as I remember. I remember it being a much more sour taste, and it did kind of taste a little bit like cherry. And it was a lot more accurate to the Sour Patch Kid taste than the blue raspberry was. But this time around, it just kind of tastes like, I don't know. Maybe I should go in for another sip. Yeah, it tastes like a knockoff. So, I'm not really sure what's going on with the flavor there. That's not how I remember it tasting at all. And I'm not going to rank it based on this one experience. Although that would be kind of honest, it would also be dishonest because I do have an opinion on this drink in general. I actually couldn't find a printed can anywhere, so this can must be a bit older than the blue raspberry. As far as I know, they do still make both, so I'm not sure why I can't find red berry anywhere. But they discontinued it at Walmart. So I had to go looking around for it, and that was a pain in the ass. So that would explain my little hypothesis here. But as for the flavor itself, very different than what I remember. I'm still going to give it a 10 out of 10 on the Brandometer because overall, I do love the flavor. Right now, today is just not the day for me, apparently. And Blue Raspberry is the same. They both get a 10 out of 10. I think they're incredible collabs. Just like the Swedish Fish, they're super, super accurate to the flavor of the actual item. And, you know, just in general, you know, Ghost is good, right? I don't think I've ever had a bad Ghost, save for that god disgusting iced tea lemonade, which I'd really rather not remember. Ugh. If you can recall all the way back to episode 5 when I tried that thing, you'll know I was very much not a fan of it. And obviously my opinions on that aren't going to change anytime soon because I hate iced tea, and there's just no other way around it. So, oh well. Anyway, while these may not be what I remember them being, it also has been a bit since I've had either one. So it's very much possible that they either change the formula, or those godforsaken cans changed something, or I'm just crazy and I changed in 3 months' time, somehow. Anyway, while this may be the end of the Mondelez collab, it's not the end of Ghost's collabs in general. But I guess I can't tell you what I mean by that just yet.